Hi guys, today we're making homemade goldfish, and I should really be careful with that knife I just noticed, so we're going to be careful with that next time. But right now we're slicing the butter, and you have to really pay attention to kind of slice it in half between the fourth number and slice that in half to make sure you got it. And as you can see, I had to do a little bit tearing on the paper, so just try not to do too much tearing to where all of the paper comes off of the other one. So yeah, like I was saying, you do have to really be careful about how you're using the knife. And of course, I'm shredding the cheese right now. And shredding the cheese was probably the hardest part, I feel like, because we did have some technical problems in the beginning when we were starting. But towards the end, it was really good. Of course, I had to taste some cheese because I love eating shredded cheese. But the crazy thing is I won't eat full pieces of cheese. So as you can see, I'm putting 1 whole cup of cheese inside of the food mixer, and then I'm gonna add another 1 cup full and then a half cup full, so that it'll be enough cheese but also enough crunch too. So of course, with that extra crunch, I was adding that extra cup just for enough flavor, enough crunch, and also enough, mix to where it could be a nice cheesy blend and a nice salty blend. And of course, I had to get some more cheese because I love shredded cheese, but like I said, I will not eat full pieces of cheese. So that was kind of funny because I just would not stop eating that cheese the whole entire time. But right now, we're adding the butter in. We took that other piece of butter that you saw, and we cut it up into 4 squares, and I'm putting it all around the mixer so that it would be even and it would be buttery on each side. I'm not sure if that really matters or not, but I just made it to where how I thought I could do it. And of course, a dance break always helps when you're getting a bit bored. So of course, the next thing we had to do was add some seasonings. I really wanted to do the seasonings, but my mommy would not let me because she was too scared I would add too much. And just collecting the extra cheese off the counter and eating it never, ever hurts. So, of course, celebrating how far we've made it and getting some salt on my hands so I can put it in there. At least she let me do that part. So, yeah. So next, now we're going to go ahead and attach the lid onto our food processors, and we're going to take it over to our Ninja blender where we usually blend smoothies, but we're going to be using it for our food processor. And we are just going to grab our, was it a teaspoon? Mm-hmm. It was a teaspoon of water that we had to add so that when we were, getting the water in, it would have a nice little texture. Of course, I had to preheat the oven to 350. It was pretty hard. I had to push with both fingers because of how the oven was designed. So now we are food processing in our blender. It took us a little bit to get the food blender attached. Excuse our mess, please. We made a great big mess. We were having some difficulties figuring out which button to press to get it to work, but we did it eventually. And so now comes the peace sign. So now, like I said, we're blending and we're almost ready to complete the task. We are going to soon be molding the dough and making it into a soft, squishy part, and of course also be making it into our little, what do you call it? The molds? And we have a couple different molds that we're going to be using. And of course, now is the part where we're going to be adding our water. We added a teaspoon of cold water. And we're going to add it in little by little as we're blending. So as we were in the blending process, Mommy let me push a button when it finally had stopped at that middle mark. So it was pretty cool. I got to finally push a button because I really wanted to push the button. My anxiety was going crazy because I could not push the button and I wanted to push the button. So, so I believe next, in the next part, the dough is going to turn into very like kind of mushy, gooey dough, but it's not going to be too gooey. It's just going to be like regular dough that you would use for baking cookies, just not as gooey. So right now we're blending it. Now is the part where it is going to turn into blending. So right after this, we are going to take it out and we are going to grab our mat. And as we're grabbing our mat, I'm propping the camera up right now and moving everything out of the way for the mat. And here's my big sister coming to ask what we are doing, but we're done with that part. So we are going to go ahead and get our dough out, and we're going to take our rolling pin and roll it out, and then get our cookie cutters. And she's distracting us right now, and she's like, what are y'all doing right now? And of course we're just gonna blend it into a bowl. So right now we are kneading the dough, kind of trying to get it down, but also kind of like rolling it into a ball. And soon we will grab our rolling pin once we're done with kneading the dough. And of course I had to grab a tiny bit to play with a little bit. And of course Mommy needed that little bit eventually. So now I'm going to grab the rolling pin and we are going to start the process of us rolling out it. Now, that was probably the hardest part, was rolling out the dough and probably getting it like the flat surface that we needed it, because of how gooey and how sticky it was, and we just had to get it not so gooey and sticky. And of course we had to grab some flour where we could drizzle it on the mat, and we're putting some out on the mat right now to put it all over the rolling pin and kind of get the rolling pin all floured up to kind of get our dough a bit nice and moistured. Excuse me. Okay, so in the process of flouring up the rolling pin, it was a little bit hard for me not to play so much with it, but eventually I stopped playing with the flour and I went ahead and started the process of rolling out the dough. The dough is sticking to the rolling pin a lot, so Mommy had to use one hand and kind of get it all out from the rolling pin. And of course it was very hard because I had to use a lot of muscle strength to kind of get it like exactly how we needed it. But after all, it all worked out, because I feel like the fun part about it was I got to take my shapes and of course poke the little holes and put the shapes in there. And I had really fun rolling out the dough. It was probably really, really fun. Probably the second most funnest part about it was rolling it out. And here's the part where I am putting all of the shapes in. That was the very first fun part for me, was putting the shapes inside because of how tiny and cute they were. They were just so cute, and I loved doing all these different shapes. I feel like taking different shapes and putting them all was probably what took the longest, but I have no regrets because they turned out so cute in the end. So like I said, the part that took the longest was probably switching back and forth with the shapes, but eventually I caught into this rhythm where I was easily able to do a long time with one shape, then switch back to another shape. But it was all so fun because I feel like I had to ask a lot which shape I could use and which one was big, because you can't do it too big or too small. But I feel like I used a lot of small ones, which is okay because you can't use big ones, and these small ones were the only ones that we had that I could use that weren't too big. But they were a lot smaller than we expected when we got them, but that's okay because they still worked out fine and they made it way crunchier. But as you can see, I'm pressing my way through with putting all of these different shapes in here one by one and showing you guys there's a piece of flour. My mama said that was okay, so I just went with the flow. Of course, Was it a long process? Yes, but it all turned out worth it in the end. Of course, I feel like I keep saying that 1,000,001 times, but it was really, really fun. So I feel like, guys, once you see the end result, you'll like it a lot more better. Okay, guys, these things are super duper yummy. They probably take 30 minutes or more or less to make. I'm not sure because I wasn't counting. I was just going with the flow of how good they were. Trust me, when they come out of the oven, they are so good. So, guys, before you go, make sure to hit the like and subscribe. And I'm a type 1 diabetic, just in case you didn't know. So, our channel is Graceful Journey Life. So, make sure you go check out that channel. If you already haven't, please go do it now. And I'm just going to give you one more good look of how good they are when they came in and out the oven. Hit the like and subscribe. Bye.